David, circling back to the book, you do a nice job laying out mistakes that investors make when choosing an agent. And most of our people listening here are investors. So if you're in their shoes, what are some questions as an investor I should be asking agents when I'm trying to find that right partnership?
All right. So the first thing I would say has to do with the mindset that investors should have when working with an agent, and the mindset an agent should have. I think real estate sales and, to a degree, real estate investing are incredibly difficult to be good at, not because they are inherently hard things to master. They are not rocket science. They are something that most people have no background or context to compare this to. There is no job like a real estate salesperson that you've had in your life before this. That makes it difficult to succeed. Okay, so what happens is people default to the mindset they had at their W-2 job. And that is toxic in a lot of ways. The way that we grow up working, or the way I grew up working, which I think is how most people are, is very egocentric. It's all about the employee. And employees complain all the time about their jobs. They just don't realize many employees bring very little value to the company at all, but they still get paid. Okay. You basically, like, take my job I had at Togo's, one of my first jobs. I wait for someone to walk in the door. Somebody else did all the marketing, the advertising. They created the product. They built the recognition. They put the corporate structure in place. They hired people. Like, they did a ton of work just to create this world that somebody would walk in the door and say, I want a number 4. I didn't even have to walk the person through what sandwich they might want or give them options. I literally just stood there and they said, I'll take a 4. And I had to say, do you want a large or a small? Okay. And then there's a list of all the stuff on the sandwich, and they just have to tell me if they don't want it. Like, that job was created to make my job as the employee as easy as stinking possible to not fail at. But I would be in this mindset of, man, I do everything around here. I got to go get my own tomatoes out of the fridge. This is ridiculous. Why isn't anyone bringing them to me? I'm busy. Let alone the fact that I didn't have to order the tomatoes, create a place to put them, make sure there was a fridge working, right? Like, you get this toxic attitude that you are working so hard and you are doing so much, and you're really not. Then you get into a world of entrepreneurialism, investing in real estate, being a real estate agent, and all of that's gone. It's completely taken away, and you are ill prepared to step into the situation where you are responsible for all of it. So the first thing I have to tell agents is understand you have the wrong mindset if you ever had a job. People come to my office and they're at the office all day, and they leave and they say, I worked an 8-hour day. I said, no, you spent 8 hours sitting in a chair looking at a computer. You didn't do work. You didn't do one thing that is likely to lead to you getting another client. And you're going to continue doing that for the rest of your career until you get out of the belief that being in the office equals work. That is not the case. That works at a W-2 job where somebody else is responsible for the results, and you are just responsible for this tiny little piece you play. So I tell agents, you don't work for anyone. And I tell investors, that agent doesn't work for you. This is a relationship. It is either mutually beneficial or it is terrible for both parties. We only win if we end up actually getting a property under contract and closing on it. So if you just make that little switch, you are not hiring an agent to do a job for you. You are looking for a partner, just like dating. Okay. And you walk into it saying, here's what my needs are, like you would tell someone you were dating. This is what I am looking for. This is what success looks like for me. Is that the same with you? And then that person says, well, yes, it is. Well, here's my expectations. I need someone that can do these things for me, right? I need someone who can iron my clothes. I'm a police officer. I don't have time to do it. Is that something you're willing to do? That conversation never happens between agents and investors, first off. So investors end up hiring an agent that wants to help them and tries to help them and doesn't know how to help them. They're working really hard, doing everything they can, not understanding that that's not what the investor needs. So that would be the first piece I would say is, get out of this belief that you found an agent and it's going to work. You don't know if that person can even help you. The second piece that I would say is you need to look for an agent who thinks like you think. They need to know when you say, I want a good deal, that never gets defined, what that means. Once you go into escrow, like, here's a common thing. When you're just a regular buyer looking for a house, and you're looking at the same house as everyone else is looking at, the agent is mostly providing an emotional support system. That's what they're doing. They are making you feel comfortable with this purchase. They're going to hold your hand. That's the value that they bring. The second you transfer into, I want an investor agent, you also have to let go of, they're here to give me emotional support. That's not really their job anymore. Okay. Their job is to give you a skill set very few other people have. Finding opportunity, casting a vision for you, helping you get that deal, helping you run numbers, maybe helping provide you with some of the resources. But you don't also get all the emotional support you got from an agent that had to do nothing but show you homes and let you pick the one you like. That comes up a lot where people complain about the service they got. They want their agent to call the city and ask about like zoning regulations, or attend the city council and say, hey, you're representing me on this deal. I want you to go convince them to zone it for R2 so I can buy it or whatever. That's not your agent's job. And the good agents are actually going to tell you, no, that's not what I do. I do not have time to go do those things for you. If you want to be an investor, that is your responsibility. That's what the investor does. I help you with this part. And that conversation doesn't happen. That's another thing that causes a lot of hurt feelings between the two sides.
You know, there's so many realtors out there, so many licensed real estate agents, I guess. And we all know there's just a very small percentage that end up being successful based on volume or gross numbers. But then when you get into the investment minded brokers, that's the term we use on here all the time, investment minded brokers. They're even fewer and far between. And I think, I think you hit it on the head with, when you are a successful realtor, it's because you're laying out what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And you're setting up those expectations. And you might just not work with people because their expectation of you going to the meeting is ridiculous. Yes. And you just choose to, you're not going to grasp for any type of client. You know exactly, as a strong real estate agent, you became who is an ideal client for you and who you could benefit the most so you could serve the most people.